Ralph Remshardt is an associate professor of theater, is a native of Berlin, and attended universities in Munich and Berlin before he received his PhD at the University of California in Santa Barbara. He teaches theater history, dramaturgy, playwriting, and seminars on special topics such as comic drama, or contemporary European theater. He's also an affiliate faculty member in the Department of Germanic and Slavic Studies. Ralph is an experienced director, a translator, and a dramaturg whose scholarly interests range over a wide variety of topics in theater and drama. He has lectured and delivered papers nationally and internationally at conferences in Germany, Great Britain, the Netherlands, and Russia, and he publishes in both English and German. He has translated and adapted plays, maintains an active directing profile, and in his spare time serves as chair of the University Libraries Committee. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Remshardt as he accepts the new building for the faculty.
Thank you. I'm honored, really, to be able to participate in this dedication and to accept the new Smathers Library building on behalf of the UF faculty. And I hope that there are some UF faculty here in attendance. If they're not, they're back there in the building writing a breakthrough study on something. For students, the library is an important place to read, work, meet, socialize, and drink overpriced coffee. For us, the academic faculty, it's all that and a bit more. Most of us, in pursuit of our various degrees, have at one time or another spent more time in a university library than seems humanly justifiable. And we are, I think, all a little bit in love with the very concept of a university library, in love with a building that is a vast and almost inexhaustible storehouse of ideas and possibilities, and it's here to serve us, notwithstanding the fact that we grumble sometimes about its inadequacies. We possess what I recently saw referred to in a history of Princeton University as a bookish heart. There are worse things to have. That bookish heart was broken a bit when, a few years ago, the library was closed for entirely necessary renovations. I could feel a collective ripple of suppressed mourning going through the faculty. We're intellectuals, we do things suppressed. When I slunk around the shuttered building from time to time in those years, I felt as if in exile. True, we could still get books, but it was a disembodied experience of delayed gratification. I felt thrown back to my years as an academic in Germany in the early 1980s when the process of obtaining books was to find a reference in a well-thumbed card catalog, walk a few miles of corridors to a window where the request in duplicate was filed, wait an hour or two or a day, walk another few miles of corridors to a pickup window, and with luck retrieve the desired book, usually dispensed by an official with a mild look of general suspicion on his face. What a revelation it had been for me to arrive in this country and to be told that you could walk into the stacks and browse. I realized that the purpose of a library was not to withhold books, but to grant access. This was a marvel, how very democratic. It allowed for what became my favorite research strategy, research by proximity and serendipity, looking for one book but finding another, much better one, nearby. To me, the open stacks of the library has always symbolized the great freedom of the American university. Knowledge not as a forbidding and daunting pursuit, but as an invitation and a promise. Many who are old-fashioned academics like myself feel that their own libraries are the centers of their homes, and they extend this to the institution. The way in which a library can define a life has become clear to me a few years ago when, on a trip to a conference in Los Angeles, I visited the Villa Aurora in Pacific Palisades, which in the 1940s had been the erstwhile home of the great German Jewish novelist Leon Feuchtwanger and his wife Martha. I was impressed by the writer's copious library, which had been a meeting place of exiled artists such as Bertolt Brecht and Thomas Mann, but I was even more impressed by its story. Like many Jewish intellectuals, Feuchtwanger had had to flee the Nazis in the early 1930s, and when Hitler came to power, he was in New York on a speaking tour. He never returned to Germany, abandoning his house and his beloved library in Berlin. Over the next 2 decades in California, he bought back, piece by piece, and with great determination, all of the 30,000 books that had comprised his Berlin library. Only then did he feel what Germans call Heimat, a sense of belonging again. Incidentally, after his widow's death, the house and library passed into the possession of the University of Southern California and is now part of their library's collection on exile studies. I mention this because this is, too, a bit of reclaiming, a bit of homecoming. It illustrates also, perhaps, a truism about libraries. In truth, a university library must be many things: an archive, a depository, a resource, a node of information technology, a nexus of intellectual history, even a locus for contemplation. But beyond all of that, it is always much more than a service station for the mind. It is properly where the soul of the university can be found. Maybe the football stadium is the beating heart, and maybe Tigert Hall is the hard-working hypothalamus. But this is the soul. Yet as we as faculty reclaim Smathers Library, there's no doubt denying that research libraries themselves have entered an age of great uncertainty. Perhaps some colleagues like me were apprehensive that students, after a 3-year hiatus, would have become so unaccustomed to books, so much enthralled to the twin gods of Google and Wikipedia, that they would stay away in droves. Fortunately, no such thing happened, and today the building is humming to the rafters. But I couldn't help ask myself whether these walls have gone up just as the idea of a library without walls was coming to fruition, whether we're ready for it or not. The greatest shift in knowledge and information management in many generations is occurring right now, and serious questions of digitization, access, and preservation will have to be answered. What is certain is that the library of 25 or 50 years from now will look very different, perhaps not on the outside, but certainly within. And it will take the collective wisdom of this faculty on campus and faculties everywhere to help imagine what that library might be. Before I close, I want to say something from my bookish heart. In the years I've been here, I've never encountered anyone on the staff and among the librarians who has been less than professional, and many people have been marvelously helpful and accommodating. This is surely due partly to the extraordinary work of Dale Canellis over the last 2 decades. The library we are dedicating today is in many ways Dale's creation, and as I accept the library on behalf of the UF faculty, I do it with a special nod of appreciation in her direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. John Boyles, the current president of the Student Senate, was born and raised in Orlando. A student from the College of Fine Arts, he is studying music performance and music theory. He has been active in residence hall governance and served as the president of the governing body of the UF Honors Program. During high school summers, John traveled extensively in Europe, and one summer served as an intern in the British House of Commons. I bet he learned a lot that summer. Please join me in welcoming him as he accepts the new building for the student body.
Thank you, Dale. It's my honor, just as Dr. Ruhrfeldt said, to accept this on behalf of the student body as the student body president this year. It's been an amazing year to be the student body president, an amazing year to be as the student body president this year. It's been an amazing year to be the student body president, an amazing year to be a student at this university, as incredible things have happened this year and history has been made in many ways. My first thought after I was asked to speak on the student's perspective on this library, however, was of the inscription on the library at the door of the library at Thebes. That inscription reads, "Libraries, the medicine chest of the soul." After that thought, I realized that there isn't the words to be said from the student perspective, because just as our bodies need medicine to achieve long life and prosperity, to correct our ills, and to comfort our pains, so society needs libraries. We as students are preparing today to lead society tomorrow. That is the purpose of our education. And this library represents a huge leap forward in achieving that purpose. I was here before the library closed for renovation, and I'm still here today. It is my 5th year. Many of my fellow students that came in with me have graduated. They've moved on. And when they all graduated last spring, they talked about this library opening after that. They talked about what it would be like and what they would be missing and what they wanted to see and what they hoped it would be. And I would like to congratulate everyone who was involved with the project and thank them, because this library is far beyond what those students talked about or what anyone